Okay, my outstanding friends, we're going to examine this very peculiar outcrop. And they say it's millions of years in one picture. They think every one of these layers is another layer of sedimentation. Well, I am here to tell you that is not correct. This is actually biological tissue. And I have some here that we're going to be looking at in the microscope. And I checked it out very, very carefully. And I'm almost sure I know exactly where that part is within the body of the creature. And I will show you it in my creature here. Now, I haven't going to fire it up in the microscope. And I'll show you all of these layers. And by the time you get down to this red layer, you're just barely getting into the skin. This is the membranes that protect you from invasion. This is starting to get into a little bit of connective tissue. Yes, you have to have connective tissue so you don't fall apart. Down here, you're starting to get into a little, connective tissue intertwined with muscle, a little more. And then you get into a really red area that flushes blood into all of these muscles so that it can do its job. You don't have any muscle up here at all, hardly. The muscle's down below. I'll show you it in mine here. So let's get started with the microscope. All right, I have the same rock here that I will show you in the microscope, because originally I wasn't focusing on the layer up above, which is basically the epidermis, the skin layer, and then it comes down to where you start to get into a lot of blood. Up here you don't have a whole lot of blood right at the edge. Yeah, enough, but not here. This is feeding this muscle tissue, and that's what this is muscle. Now what is that? That's tendon. All your muscles, I believe every single one of them, runs to a tiny little piece of tendon. And that is tough. That is tough. It looks a lot like the muscle, but you see how it's brown and the muscle's red and pink? This gets infused. This was right after it came out of the ground. It's basically like it is in the body. All of that's blood. You see these holes here? Hold on. You see that? Those are arteries. Those little red strips coming out of your blood. Those are arteries. And they fed the muscle. Now that is the tough spot. And I believe this broke right here, and that's what it was standing up. We're going to go back and take a look at it. But it's actually above this spot. This is what's confusing me. Because I think we were just at the very top. That's all it was there. We're going to go take another look at it. But this, I believe, is also very tough. We're just going to examine it and see what we can find out. Okay, the more I look at this, the more interesting it gets. This is the rock we're going to be dealing with. This was, I believe, a shoulder or I don't know what, but there was it's like a ball and socket type of thing. That was the central core of whatever this, I believe, is a bone. Now, then there's a bunch of glue, and I mean it is glue, and it glues to this tendon. Tendon is tough as hell, and that right there is muscle tissue that attaches to the tendon. The tendon gives you that little and this gives you the So this protects you from just ripping it right out of the glue. Now, what we're dealing with in this picture that I showed you of that giant monolith that's sticking up there in the ocean, I think we're only dealing from the top to about here. I'm not kidding you. All the rest is underground. Now, follow this, why I can say this. I'm going to show you all of these layers. You can't see the layers here, but I think it was this spot right here, because this is a tough spot. Very, very tough. Tough, tough, tough. It's not like that real weak sandstone. Here, so follow this around with me so you don't get lost. This is the top. This is the layer of red clay. Now look at all of the layers that you missed. Here and around here, you see? All of those layers are before you get down to where the red is. The red's down here. Look at all those layers. We're going to put it in a microscope and see in a second. But you can see that, all of those layers. You have to go through all those layers before you can get even down to that red stuff that I was showing you. So let's look at it in a microscope. But they are talking about that thing took millions of years to sediments and all that. No, this is biology, my friend. And so is that, and so is, when you see it, any anatomist would say, yeah, absolutely, it's membranes and it's connective tissues. I know an anatomist, and they'd say, yeah, I can't say it's not. Right? They would say, no, no, that doesn't fit the pattern. No, yeah, it's exactly what it is, but I can't say that's what it is. It is what it is, and it is what that is, but I can't say this is what that is. Okay, you may be able to see all these little fine stripes. I doubt if you can see how many there are. There's just bazillions of them. Now, this is the top of this rock, right, which is literally the outside layer of skin. All of these are little tiny layers of tissues and membranes, and then it gets down to a very heavy red layer here. I'm going to show you this quite well. Actually, that's it right there in a microscope, on a screen, and that's where the blood starts. We're looking way up here. All right, we're looking way up here. Then there's this big red bloody slurp that goes all the way through, all the way around. On the other side, it's just wide open red blood. You see? I don't know if you can see that. You see that red? That's just red blood, and that's what that one there is. That's this side here. And what we're going to be looking at is a piece of muscle, and I think it's only way up here. This little tiny piece right here. And they claim it's like 150 million years in the making because of the layering. No, when the thing died, it just died. It didn't take it 150 million years to die. This is from a creature. Now I'm going to show you the anatomical evidence. Well, first of all, we're going to look at it in the microscope, and I'm going to show you all that layering of tissue and how unbelievable complex the membrane system is. They don't even know about this. The doctors have no clue about this right now. You see this? This is what they're calling 150 million years of erosion. No. Whoops, you don't see it. Hold on. There it is right here. This is the skin. And then you get all these layering here. By the time you hit that red layer I showed you, you're down at the bottom, down here. This is just this little tip up here, this top. Then you got to go down in through all the muscle and the bone and everything to down get where you really do the work. We're just starting to get into some. This is connective tissue. When you see the black and the white twisting together, that's muscles intertwined with connective tissue. You'll see it extremely well. By the time we're done, you will know precisely what I'm telling you. And because this grows very green on the top because it's skin. Skin makes things grow very, very nicely because it's red blood, and that's what it loves. You know, green things love red blood, and that's what it's clay. It's red clays. All right, so don't forget now. This is the top. This is the top right here. All of these layers are all in here before you even get to here where all the red stuff is, where's all the blood. And that's what I say is right at where the ocean is rubbing here. And it's either this spot right here to here, or maybe this spot from here to here is what is sticking up and didn't erode away because it has a really good foundational base. Now, I'm going to just put a little water on here. Sometimes you can see a lot better the colors. It only takes a second for the water normally to slip in there. Sometimes the colors are a little more vibrant. But you see how quick that red blood is getting so blood loves water. Loves it. So anyway, we're going to be looking at this now. See how gnarly looking that is? Very different than the rest. So it's either here or it could be up here because this is where the glue is. This glue is unbelievably tough. That is the toughest stuff I've ever seen on the face of the earth. And I've looked about it around the face of the earth. Now that's the bone. And this is, all that stuff has to lock right in here. This is a tough, tough area. Now, where is it? It could be right there. It could be right there. It could be right here. I'm not sure. But I can tell you one thing. It is only from here up. The red stuff goes down below in that monolith. And these little stripes are all over. They're all coming down here. Now, as the ocean erodes it, it opens it right up, and you can see them all. You see, look at how many layers there are. It's just absolutely astounding when you really pay attention to things. You know, I looked at this and I thought, oh yeah, look at that, have a nice day. But, you know, people say, whoa, what about this, what about that? And I go back and I look, and sure enough, I say, yikes, you're right. I didn't take a close look. There must be 200 layers right there. Now let's go back and look at the monolith. All right, this is not hard to follow. This is the top, which is up here. And again, it's the red clay skin that will grow things very nicely. Now, then you start to get in all these little tiny layers. I mean, there is a million of them. If you look on the end where they're broken, and that's how abrupt transitions are, where you go from muscle to tendon, or from tendon to bone, or whatnot. There's an abrupt transition. Down here is the red blood. This is where that red bloody layer is right here. Above that is all these layers. This happens to be flat, so we can see them just perfectly. But there'll be some connective tissue within this. And then there's all these other little tiny layers of I believe these are primarily membranes. Membranes are not well understood. In these membranes, there are what they call fluid-filled highways. And their membranes have a bunch of collagen, and then they have pathways through them that fluids can go. And what they do is those membranes protect you from invasion. You can get invaded here, down to here, down to here, down to here, down to here, but once it gets down here into your really red blood and your meat and everything, you're in trouble. Sometimes. You still have a lot of stuff to fight back, but up here is where all your fighters are. This is where all your cavalry is. They're just waiting for somebody to come through here. And zip, they go fast. You know how fast a bacteria can move? They have no idea. Bacteria's flagellum, which is it's just like a propeller. It's a single cell little bugger about this long. It's got some of them have only one propeller, some of them have multiple propellers. It can travel 100,000 RPMs. And they carry with them enzymes, and they attack the invaders. That's not well understood. Bacteria, I'm trying to get a study going on the bacteria that's in the human body. If we know what bacteria is missing, the bacteria is what create enzymes. Enzymes is the chemistry. Case closed. You got the right enzymes, you can attack the invaders. You got the right enzymes, you can break open the food to get what you need from the food. You have the right enzymes, you can go break down the waste products so you can get rid of them. You have the right enzymes, they will know a living cell from a dead cell. And the correct enzyme will attack, and it's called apoptosis. It will attack our cells that normally would never attack, because they're part of our bodies. Don't attack my cells. Well, a little thing goes off in the cell, says, I'm dead. And the bacteria knows it chemically. It has what I call click chemistry. And they are so elegant, these enzymes. They come up and they say, anybody over here dead? And they say, I want to see this little blue thing hanging off you. And he says, well, I got one of those. Click. He gobbles it up, takes it out, sends it out through the lymph nodes. The lymph nodes take all that garbage and break all that down and spit it out. All right, I'm sorry, I'm getting into a little bio. I have to get into this because they don't understand literally any of this stuff. It's incredible. I'm sorry. All right, so don't forget my claim. This layer right here, this is the top. From here down, this is the red layer. We're only to here. This whole piece sits right in here. Somewhere around, I'm not sure where it was, but I'm sure it was close to a tendon. Tendons and the glue, that's the tough stuff. But it's only this much. Now the water is here. All right? All of this is underwater. What is this? It's muscle. You see those striations of muscle? Every one of those little slats, these are called sarcomeres, and they're in blocks and blocks and blocks, and they pull in like this. But there's a million different layers in between the muscles. And these are all muscles. And it broke off, these are all, you see at the ends, they break off with these abrupt transitions. It's very interesting, can you see? Like blocky looking chunks, and they just stop. I call them abrupt transitions. Now at the very bottom, this is just one big layer of blood. This is all that is blood. That's just blood. So now that's going to service the muscle that's below this. This is just a very early phase of the muscle. Then you get another layer of blood. Then you have a bunch more muscle. Then another layer of blood and a bunch more muscle. This was a good sized creature. This was no little puppy either. But it certainly was nothing like that. The Earth, as we know it, it just is not correct. We just have no idea about the Earth that we live on at this moment. We think it's just a bunch of geology. Nope. Incorrectamundo. Alright, we're going to take a look at the microscope in a second here. Right in here is where all these layers are. I know you won't be able to see them very well, but I'm going to put the microscope right on here somewhere where I can pick up some of these layers. And I'm really, really down close. There's so many layers here you could never possibly imagine. Let me get in a nice spot right here. This should show some. And I'm pretty tight shot here. You see, let me turn, oops. I'm sorry, I'm doing this all by myself as always, and I am not good by myself. Alright, now, this light comes off. Now, I can turn down this light. Whoops. Let me focus in a little bit. You see how many layers there is just in this one tiny spot? And they all have a certain, you know, this little white stuff there, that's not there by accident. This is fascia, and these little black balls are where these fibers are locked in. It's those are the interstitial balls. And let's see what we got up here. Usually when you see black, it's something to do with a vein. Yeah, that's picking up some blood that's transitioning over. And it gets darker and darker as you get to the top. Now this is the very top of the skin, and it's tough. This is very, very tough stuff. This is like a bazillion coarse sandpaper. Very, very, almost all quartzite. And, you know, all glassy stuff. That's tough. This is nothing you want to scrape your hand on. And that's what the outside, that's why the beaches are covered with sand. That's what it is, it's skin. I'm telling you, the creatures, I cannot account for it. Don't point your fingers at me. I'm showing you what exists. You can't see what exists. Shame upon you. Because that means you just can't open your eyes. I don't mean shame on you. Just go about doing your life the way you like. Have a good time. But I go for reality and truth. And I don't acquiesce to persons saying, oh no, you have to say what I say or I'm going to give you a failing grade. Well, I don't need your grade, my friend. But everybody else does. I mean, I'm outside that realm now. Actually, I never was in that realm. I didn't really care for that stuff. I went on my own, knowing that it just was not working for me. And I watch all, never mind. We'll talk later. Okay, I'm sorry, my friends. I got a little involved in speaking, but I'm going to cut it short for today. We're going to go through what I call the Spurlock, which is nothing more than the latch that locks body parts into your body. There's one on here. There's one on all of these. Even this, I believe this is a dragon scale. It sure looks like it to me. And I know where the blood is in this thing. And I've checked it out. I've looked at it very carefully in a microscope. And it's red, and it's blood, and it's got an artery and a vein and all that. Now, this is a latch, and this is the wrinkle. You see that wrinkle right there? That's so that it can go up and down as the guy slithers around. And anyway, this has one. You see that? That has one. You see that? They all have them. Every single one of these. I'll show it to you on all of these. Every rock I have has one of these latches if it's a component. Now, or an organ. This right here is one on this. This, I'm not sure what this is, but I think it might be, I don't know for sure. But I can absolutely see the latch, and it actually stretches all the way across. Very interesting. And when I put water on them, they'll become very, very obvious. This one has it here, and it has one on the other side too. See that one there? They look like little crescent rolls. They wrap around. Even the bones have them. This bone, look at this bone. You see that? See that coming across? It comes right across there and latches right in to hold that. The Greeks used to call this tunica. It's really I forget what they call it. It's the wrapping in a bone. It's the oh boy, I tell you, the mind is going. Anyway, it's the outside membrane that wraps the bone, and it has to seal somewhere. Apparently, they wrap around. They don't just grow in one big piece. They somehow fuse together. I guess that's so that they can open up and grow. I don't know. As they say in French, je ne sais pas. Alright, I'm going to leave it at this here, but we're going to go through all these different rocks, and we're going to see some very interesting things. They all have this Spurlock. There's the latch on this one. Now, that's what held it in place. I don't know what it is, some kind of organ. You see the red blood, and then you see the yellow. And then they're all flat like this on the back. They all died in the flood. That's what preserved them. It was a hot water, salty hot water flood. And this is all written about. And there's always a flat side on everything. You know, all of them have like a flat side. Even Caesar, my buddy here, Caesar, he's a goose. Caesar Augustus. He died like that. There was a very, very, you got to read Velikovsky. You got to look at this lung, same thing. And it depends on where they were and what the chemistry was and what the creature was when it died. I have all kinds of different stuff, and I didn't have to go far to get this. It's all laying everywhere, all over my property. I don't go driving around to go find this stuff. It's just laying there. This is some kind of lung, I think. And that's the Spurlock on this one. This is a new body part. Even interstitium. They just found interstitium, and I got to tell you the honest truth. That's because I found it in my body parts. And I started to work with a guy back in 2010, and he said, well, we call that the fuzz. It's called fascia. It doesn't do anything. It's just sort of padding. I said, no, this stuff is a lot more involved than you think. And I followed it down to my belt. His belts are made out of fascia, which is nothing more than a fabric of cowhides and so forth. They have all these fibers running to these balls. Anyway, we're going to get into that in the next one. Now, on top of that, I'm finally going to take a look at lichen. I've been talking about it and saying, why does it grow in these spots? Well, that's a good question. Let's figure it out. Anyway, that'll be the next thing. This is the Spurlock. Don't forget, this is that little connective tissue goes up to a latch. just like this. These are connective tissues. They go to the Spurlock. So that's not just fascia. It's fascia until you hit that little gnarly spot. That's the Spurlock. Even like this thing. See this lung? This petrified in a different manner than all the rest. This all turned into little crystallized alveoli holes, except the Spurlock. I mean, I tell you, there's no question about it. It's a new body part. Now, I could be a little bit wrong about this, that it's a new body part, because there's a bunch of different layers of fascia. But the people that I did talk to sort of said that fascia is pretty much fascia, and that they didn't distinguish about that specific latch. But anyway, but this is all kind of new stuff. This is from the Cleveland Clinic. Yeah, Cleveland Clinic. Now, it says, what is fascia? It's this thin band of fibrous connective tissue. It wraps around and supports every structure in your body. That's why all of these are completely coated with fascia. Scientists initially thought fascia only provided support to your organs, muscles, and bones. Recently, though, the definition has expanded to include tissues that surround all of the cells. Basically, the cells, the nerves, the joints, the tissues, the tendons, the ligaments, every single thing in your body. As part of this discovery, they learned that fascia is a part of a system-wide network. That's the interstitial. It provides form and function to every part of your body. That's why all this is, it's all part of this. It's a continuous layer of tissue that's flexible and able to resist tension. It stretches, it does this, it does that, it comes back. It's got fluid-filled highways. Zip, 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 zip. Anything can go anywhere it wants. All of the stuff that's in your body's got to move all through your body. And it doesn't just do it through blood. It's a fluid-filled highway, not just blood. And then the collagen is the connective tissues and fabrics, basically. Think of collagens as fabrics. You have some fabrics very stretched, you just flop it, you can pull them and they just stay right out there. You have other ones that you can push and pull and they're tight as heck. Now, that's what collagen is. 28 different ones that they're pretty familiar with, but the five, I think it's like 6, I think, are the main ones, 1 through 6, and then they get into some exotic ones. Anyway, just think of them as fabric. Your skin is collagen, and all of this stuff is collagen, and it depends on where that collagen is. Is it near some chemistry that is invasive to that, like a kidney or a liver or gallbladder or something? You need to have membranes. That's why all these membranes are so important, because they are the chemical barriers between the toxins that have to do business in your body. You have all these toxins doing all kind of business all the time, but your system-wide layers keep that stuff in its proper place, unless the chemistry is not there. And there's one thing that makes that chemistry, basically, I think the only thing that you really have to be certain of is that you have the right enzymes. Enzymes, as far as I know, are only made from bacteria. If that's true, and I'm just saying that's my understanding. This is what research is all about. If it's true that you need that chemistry, which that's no question, you need the chemistry to protect you in that membrane. And the only way you can get that chemistry is with an enzyme, which is what the chemistry is. And the only way you get the enzyme is because a bacteria created it. If that's all true, the bacteria is the source of disease, of invasion, and it goes both ways. A bad bacteria will invade you. Your good bacteria lives there. It lives in these cellular compartments. Well, hold on one second. Okay, where do you see this? This is a fabulous researcher. I'm just going to call him Gocall. If you want to try to pronounce his name, good luck. But but he's at UC Berkeley. And I'm watching about trying to understand fascia and all this stuff. And all of a sudden I see this video. Watch this. This is Gocall. And here he is. And he's going to get ready to have his pili erector muscles push his hair up in his. Listen to this.
I still remember it's something that I will never forget. The hair on my hands just stood up.
That's the
It's a
pili
microscopic
erector muscle.
universe within each cell.
This is an unprecedented view of the cellular world, where we can actually see immune cells scooping up sugars in the ear of a zebrafish in real time.
Focusing only on the crawling immune cells, we've noticed two classes of them. One was not hungry at all, but it was very active in terms of trying to figure out, what the environment is. There was another one that was kind of slouching around with a lot of food in its belly. We can actually conceptualize and visualize and analyze the contents of each of these cellular compartments in this crawling immune cell as it's kind of, scooping up its environment. I mean, that is a level of details no one's seen before.
We're living in a new era of cell biology, where microscopy advancements are giving biologists the opportunity to reveal the hidden patterns of cells.
See, this is absolutely fabulous. This is the kind of research this is like candy to me. Now, my work, I don't need microscopes. I can see these things in full size, and I mean huge. It really is a whole new world, especially when my research falls into this. Because when you saw the stuff they're showing, that's interstitial. Let me just show you something about interstitial. This is the body tissue we're talking about. This is the layers that I showed you. There's a bazillion layers in your body of membrane layers. They appear to be membrane layers to me. Now, this one here is before it gets really magnified. Now we're magnified. That's the spot. Same spot. Now we're down. We can see all these balls. Well, what do they look like if you could see them really, really close up? They look like this. Every one of those little balls has a strap running to it. You can't see them in here because the straps are floppy, weak. The balls are hard and very, very strong. Like they're right there. And these little fibers hang on to them, and that's what allows your skin to do all this stuff. Now let me show you what interstitium looks like on Earth. Okay, I did a bunch of talking about membranes and interstitium and fascia and all that stuff. Well, every membrane, whether it's skin or an organ layer of membrane, whatever, underneath it has the same fluid-filled highways and the same anchor balls and the same brown springs. Well, they're brown here, but I don't know what they're. But they're springy. This is the deal with collagen. Collagen makes the skin, and that's one almost specific type of collagen. It makes a good fabricy skin, which is tight junctions. Then you've got really sort of a real floppy, gooey substance in there that can pump up and it just sort of flaps around. That's another collagen, and it's held open by this brown-looking collagen, which is basically a spring, which springs open these bags so they can fill with their fluids. Otherwise, they collapse. Now you've got the black anchor balls. So what do we see over here? That's exactly what we see. These are all those balls, and the fluid-filled bags are in between them. Now, this might be pressed. I don't know. They might be a little more separated. I didn't take these pictures. These are from, I think, Mount Sinai. And this was from the research that was done by, I think his name was Dr. Theis. I'm not sure, but he's the one that wrote the article on interstitium. Well, I'll show you that article. It says meet your new organ, or something like that. Anyway, here's what it is. You want to meet your new organ? There it is, right there. This is what the Earth is. That's interstitium. That's interstitium. That's the skin, the mucosa, the organ layer, the membrane. This you get down here into these little floppy fluid-filled bags and the balls so that you can, that's like skin. This is for skin. And there it is right there. That's a pretty good sized difference in size. So there's a lot to think about now. We got to really start thinking things over again. Nothing is outside the realm of possibilities anymore in my mind. Everything I've seen right now is based on literally opinion. Every theoretical science needs to be reevaluated. That's all. We just start over and start thinking again. You know, you hold up your end of the bargain. They're talking at Fermilab about all these things. Well, let's talk. They're talking at the Geology, University of Arizona, Yale, all those people. Let's talk. Nobody will discuss anything with me because I come with evidence that can't be disputed. That's the problem what happened with education. It's become a very serious issue. Academia now is literally a dictatorship. And they run a slave nation. You better do what they say or you're going to go on and do menial work. If you want a piece of paper that says you're smart, tell us, what is that? Oh, those are some kind of... Anyway, I always get off on that kick because I can't get these people off the dime. Undeniable, verifiable, available, fully analyzed. I have DNA, I have CAT scans, I have chemistry, I have everything. But a refusal to engage, so what I have is meaningless. So again, I start to become a little bit bitter on all of the different scientific fronts now. And that's not my life. I don't like being bitter. So I need somebody to engage. I need somebody to stand up and really stand up. I'm the only one I can find that was really standing up. I've been asking for all these people that are making claims. Let's talk. I don't think that's too much to ask, especially for somebody like Fermilab. They're spending billions of our dollars. Don Lincoln refuses to discuss the light research we did showing his exact particles. But we didn't spend billions of dollars, so I'm off the page. And every single article he writes, and he does a ton of articles and a ton of videos, he says, you got any questions? I said, yeah, I got questions. Oh, no, not you, Roger. I engaged with him for a number of times, and it ended up being a little bit contentious. Well, a lot contentious. And every single one of the academics, every single one, 100%, universities, 100% exact same situation. Denial of undeniable evidence. If that's okay, I don't see why we even have science. I love you all. All right, I did mention Fermilab and Don Lincoln specifically, and this is what I presented to them. I said, I found your particles. There's those particles. One of them's a banger and one of them's a burner. I said, yeah, we found them, no problem. And we separated them. This is what they call a Dirac neutrino, and two of them together make a photon. That's a photon of light. And I show all the interactions, and down here, here's what they call looking for. He's got the muon neutrino experiment going. Billions of dollars are spending to look for these particles. They found them 10 years ago, and they didn't even know they found them because they won't listen. Here they are right there. There's the black one is the muon neutrino. Never changes, and it comes back black over here and reattaches. The white turns into a shower. And here they were before they went through our Venturi. And why were we able to get this kind of an interaction? We forced them to crush into each other sideways. You don't have to make them hit head on. Hitting head on is almost impossible. They go this way, they go that way. Very few will hit head on. We have no way other than to smash into each other, which is what the Venturi is, and here it is right here. So we can't lose. We do this all day long. We don't have to stop and go bang and say, ooh, look at what we found. No. We could collect this all day long. And I think we can get free energy out of this. But Roger's in the woods all by himself. Now, like I said, Denial of sun, and we're using photons, not protons. They're using protons and just getting a big splash of debris. We are knowing exactly what we're seeing, and we see these in the red, the blue, and the green. They are identical, same architecture, but one is spinning much faster than the other, has much more energy. That's all it is. And the reason they're spinning much faster is because they're being pulled away from a tighter hold, which means they're right down against the nucleus. And you gotta, when you pull it, pew, out they go. The blue, the green, pew, the red, because the red's way out here already. It just sort of bounces off. The green is inside, it's got to be really pushed out hard. And the blue is, I'm not going anywhere. Oh, yes, you are. Boom. And that's why they hit them head on. They think that's the only way they can get to the blue. No. We get to the blue by just using a blue laser and putting it through the venturi, and it just explodes. It turns into a rocket ship. All right, well, you know what? I just want to mention something. I was getting a lot of people like the idea of doing a live presentation, which I really would like to do. Just, sort of blabber about whatever people want to know about. Because I've done a lot of research on this stuff. I've got some pretty good evidence. And that's the problem with these shows. I like to listen every now and then, but they're just talking about stuff. I like to see the evidence. Because, you can make a good case for almost anything. But if you can support it with physical, hard evidence, well, you like that. Who would ever expect a big dragon scale like that just laying around on the earth? With its Spurlock. Anyway, stick around, stay with me. We're changing the world. We just have to change it together and get it right for a change. And again, I don't want to be nasty to anybody. I don't want to have any bitter feelings with anybody, especially myself. But this requires scientific engagement. That is what science is. When it's refused, it's not science. Not scientists are not allowed in science. And that's all I have found is not scientists. 100%. Every single academic, 100% across the board. Total refusal. And that, I got to be honest with you, it is starting to eat away at me. It's been 10, more than that now. So anyway, I'm just going to let it go. All right, yeah, here's the details on this Meet Your Interstitial Newfound organ. This is March 2018. And this guy, his name is Dr. Thies. I'm going to show you this. I was involved in this, basically. I didn't get involved with him, but I knew about this, and I was talking to my friend that does autopsies 10 years ago about this. I said, what is this fascia stuff? And he told me they just considered it fuzz. It was just something to pad everything in your body like a rubbery foam. And this is what they're saying all the way up until just recently. Listen to this. Now they're saying it's a new organ, maybe. Well, you could look at it that way. This guy, Dr. Thies, here's what it starts. This is, researchers saw these same fluid-filled spaces, other samples, connective tissue taken from other parts of the body, in people without cancer. Thies said, the more tissue I saw, the more I realized it's everywhere. And I could find it 100% on everything. The researchers think that the fluids-filled spaces may act as shock absorbers. That's what my friend Gil told me, that they called it fuzz. It was like a shock absorber thing. And it's just to pad your tissues. Now, Dr. Thies noted that there may be quite a bit of information already known about this fluid-filled space. It's just that researchers didn't know what they were looking at. I agree. Indeed, the researchers plan to conduct a review of the scientific literature for all the things we know about this body part, but didn't know we knew it. They just overlooked it. It's not like all kind of new questions, but I don't see any big I know what way back then, I says, here's what you're going to have to do. People's membranes is what this interstitial is. This is your immune system. So anyway, we got so much work to do. It's never going to end. I need to do something like on a live daily thing, update, and get some of these researchers to interact with me. I don't see any other way to do it. Right now, I'm just spouting off to people that, it's interesting, but I don't think it's going to make any big difference to anybody's life. I still love you all.